Do you feel, because Lewis has those championships, that resume, that Charles Leclerc next year has to step it up to sort of prove where he is with Ferrari and his standing because Lewis Hamilton's coming?
Yeah, well, I don't know. On a day where he went from 19th on the grid to third, it's kind of hard to say, oh, Leclerc's got to do even more. He's got to step it up. I think he's certainly capable of that, but he has to make sure that he's performing at his top level and leaving nothing out there on the track. Obviously having a seven-time world champion who still, as we saw today, I mean, Lewis had a great drive through the field himself to come back to fourth, including passing his teammate George Russell on the last lap. Lewis certainly hasn't forgotten how to drive, and as we saw this year, he also hasn't forgotten how to win. He just needs a car capable of giving him that possibility, and I think he's going to have that at Ferrari next year. So that dynamic, that battle is going to be very, very interesting. It's probably what I'm looking forward to the most, not just how Lewis Hamilton gets on at his new team, his new home at Scuderia Ferrari, but also Charles Leclerc, obviously, who's been kind of the face of that team and that franchise for the last several years now. With, again, no disrespect to Carlos Sainz, who's a great talent in his own right, but everybody has known, I mean, and Carlos even admitted it himself, like it was hard to be too mad because you knew that if Lewis Hamilton was available and Ferrari was going to sign him, that they weren't going to get rid of Leclerc, right? So Leclerc is very highly rated, as he should be at Ferrari, but he's going to have, a massive target on his back with a seven-time champion coming into that team next year. And so, again, I think it's totally well within his capabilities, but he has to make sure he goes out and proves himself next year. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, the way I see it, I think it's interesting to think about this, but I feel like Leclerc improving isn't going to make much of a difference. When you have a seven-time world champion as your teammate, Lewis Hamilton, I think the majority of Ferrari's attention and focus is going to be at towards Lewis Hamilton. So I think that no matter how Charles Leclerc performs, obviously he needs to still perform well, but I think that a lot of the focus is going to be towards Lewis Hamilton. And I think there are going to be a lot of moments where Charles Leclerc may be asked to compromise or give up a position or something for Lewis Hamilton because the whole point of bringing Hamilton over to Ferrari was to secure another driver's championship for him. And I think that Ferrari may treat it, I think Lewis Hamilton is definitely going to be treated as the number one driver by Ferrari. And I think it's going to be difficult for the dynamic between the two drivers because, as Ben pointed out, Charles Leclerc has been the face of Ferrari for quite some time. But with Lewis Hamilton being thrown into the mix, I think it's going to make things difficult. And I think that Charles Leclerc may find himself in Lewis Hamilton's shadow at times. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the relationship between the two drivers and with the team plays out next season.
Very interesting to see how it all plays out. We cannot wait to see Lewis Hamilton behind the wheel of a Ferrari F1 car